Hey friends, I'm out here around Palmetto State Park doing a solo retreat / training camp for the next couple days. I'm riding some big rides and doing some camping out here, and I am solo. So I thought this would be a great time to talk about how you can make your solo adventures a little more fun, a little more enjoyable, and a little more safe. So let's get into it. Whether you're new to cycling or just new to gravel and adventure riding, riding solo can feel a little intimidating. Whether it's bigger miles or just being out farther from where you're used to, or both, it can be scary to be out there on your own. And while it may be a little scary, the key to solo rides is all about risk management. And risk management is all about preparation. So here are a few things to help you be more prepared for your solo rides, as well as a couple things to make the rides a little bit more enjoyable once you're on them. The first piece is know your route. While this seems obvious for any ride, when you're riding solo, you need to know more than just the distance and the elevation. It's important to know your refuel points, where you'll be able to stop and maybe resupply if you're out on a longer ride that's farther out. You also need to know your bailout points. Knowing where you can make a shortcut and get back to your home base sooner, or where you can bail out of the ride altogether, is super important and will help you feel more relaxed and comfortable as you're riding. Other things that are helpful to know about your route before you leave is the terrain. So is it really chunky gravel? Is it half and half road? Is it really smooth, hard pack? Knowing these things ahead of time will impact your tire choice as well as your estimated average pace. Knowing if there are any dogs on the route and where they might be, if you need to be worried about them, etc., as well as general road conditions. Are there any places where there might be flooding or where a bridge might be out? Sometimes you can find these things out from people who've already ridden the route, or by riding smaller sections, either by yourself or with friends, so that you have an idea of what to expect before you head out. All your cows are dead. The next thing to be aware of before you head out on your ride is the weather. Is it gonna be hot? Is it gonna be cold? Is it gonna be super, super windy? Is it gonna rain? These are all things that a quick check of the forecast can help you with. While it may seem simple, getting stuck somewhere really far out with the wrong kit or the wrong gear because it's either raining and now you're soaking wet, or it's too hot and you ran out of water, is really no fun. Whew. And knowing where the winds are coming from can help you better plan your route. Maybe you might want to go the opposite direction if you're going to be in a headwind all day. Again, simple things can make a really big difference when you're out on the bike. Once you know the route and you know the weather, you can use that information to help you know what you need. This means knowing how much food and water you're gonna need for your ride. This also means making sure you have the right kit available for the weather. While those things may seem pretty standard, you also need to know what kind of gear you need to take with you. So maybe more plugs, a spare tube, maybe even a spare tire if you're gonna be out really far and the terrain is especially rough. CO2 or hand pump, all these standard things you may just wanna bring extra. And of course, if you're riding by yourself, it's super important that you have a first aid kit. And of course, more than just knowing what you need to bring with you, you need to know how to use all of it. So if you've never plugged a tire before, you might want to try it out at home before you end up on a 100-mile ride out in the middle of nowhere where you don't have the service to quickly look up a YouTube video. Same goes for any of the first aid equipment you might bring along with you, and really any of the tools that you regularly bring with you that don't see a lot of action. And maybe the most important thing that you need to know before heading out on long solo adventures is yourself. You can have all the best information about the route, the weather, your tools, your gear, all the best whatever, but if you don't know yourself, none of it's gonna matter. You need to know what your average pace is. You need to have an idea of how fast you can actually ride and legitimately how far. It's always fun to push your limits, but you need to have a strong understanding of where the limits are in order to do so safely. Beyond just pushing pace and strength, etc., you also need to know what kind of food and drink your body responds to well. You don't want to get out on a long adventure and have gut rot and not be able to eat and end up in a really scary position. Bonking on solo rides should be avoided at all costs. It's also important to know your highs and lows in rides. For me, about 3/4 of the way through just about any ride, I start feeling kind of crappy. My head goes to a weird place, and I just have to know that that's gonna happen, and then I can manage it better. What you don't know about yourself, you can't manage or anticipate, and therefore you can't prepare for. So being really honest with yourself about where you are in your cycling journey and about your personality is an important part of staying safe on these longer adventure rides. Knowing and being in tune with your body will also help you know when to take breaks, when to eat and drink, and help you avoid injury. My actual job outside of the cycling industry actually centers on helping people develop this kind of self-awareness. So if you're interested in learning more about that and learning more about yourself, I dropped some links to my work down below. And my last tip for solo adventure rides is to remember to keep things fun. Very few of you who watch my channel are professional cyclists, so there's really no reason for you to be doing this if you're not having fun. There are all sorts of things you can do to increase the fun factor on your rides, even if you're riding by yourself. I generally prefer to ride with other people. I do think it's more fun, but I really like what riding alone offers me. A chance to really clear my head, be out and commune with nature in a more spiritual way. So these are some things that I've found to help me keep the fun factor high, even if riding solo isn't my favorite way to ride. My cows. If you've been watching my channel for very long, you know I love to play the cow game, and truly the cow game is even fun when you're by yourself. Keeping your head moving, your eyes scanning, can keep you from falling into a road rut, and something like the cow game allows you to see more beautiful landscapes. And of course, find the cows. But I also like rocking out to music with my headphones. I really enjoy keeping track of all of the different birds that I see. And on longer rides, I'll bring my camera along and take photos, or even do things like these videos. All of these things are things that I really enjoy doing and help to spice up bike rides when the Type 2 fun is a little more than the Type 1 fun. So those are my 5 tips for solo adventure riding. But I wanted to drop in and offer some, I don't know, bonus tips or some extra suggestions if you're somebody who is not a white, cisgender, heterosexual male. You can find all sorts of information about routes and rides and areas, but most of that information comes from people who have a certain level of safety moving through the world regardless of where they are. So if you happen to be queer or trans, a woman or black or a person of color, anyone who doesn't have access to the same amount of safety, it's important to take a little extra time and seek out information about what you're gonna be doing, about where you're gonna be going, from people who are more like you, and learn about their experiences. There may be places that some people think are completely fine and safe and they have no issue whatsoever, that you may find incredibly stressful. So by seeking out information from people who share similar identities from you, you can get a better sense of what you might feel like in those places, specifically when you're out riding gravel in basically the middle of nowhere. As a bonus, in this video, I wanted to share a few of the things that I keep with me on long rides that help me feel a little bit more prepared and a little bit more safe. The first and maybe the most obvious is my head unit. So my Garmin 1040 Solar. One of the things that makes it really great for these long solo adventures is it has a live track function. So I can start my route, and send my wife a link to follow me wherever I'm going. And this addresses a really important point about solo riding that I didn't bring up in the tips. If you're going alone, let people know where you are, how long you're gonna be gone, and when you expect to be back. And my Garmin device makes that super easy. The other super important thing that the Garmin has is incident detection, which means if something were to happen and I were to crash, especially if I were to become unconscious, the head unit itself detects and then will send a text either to emergency services or whatever emergency contacts you have listed. Staying with the Garmin theme, I also ride with the Garmin Radar taillight. This is something that really does make me feel a lot more safe, whether I'm on the road or out on gravel. It alerts me to when cars or other cyclists are coming up behind me. It really adds so much peace of mind, and I don't have to keep looking over my shoulder, which means I can keep my eyes on the road. So there you have it. There are my tips for solo adventure riding. If you found anything in this video helpful, be sure to click the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Those things really do help out the channel. I'd love to hear how you prep for solo adventure rides, so be sure to drop a comment down below, and I will see y'all in the next one. Hey friends, fun fact, or maybe not so fun fact about the ride I was on while I was recording this video. Not 5 minutes after finishing that recording, I was chased by a dog, crashed, had to reset the incident detection on my Garmin, and then had to reroute myself because I no longer was capable of finishing the route I had set up for myself. I found a different refuel point and essentially had to change up my entire ride. And I was only able to do that because of the preparation that I had put in beforehand. So all that to say, these things work, and I know because I've had to use them. So hopefully your solo rides will go a little bit more smoothly than mine, but if not, then at least you'll be prepared. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all soon. Go, 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 go!